Hey everyone, good to be live with you. Well, a Yale University featured study looked at the effects of cell phone electromagnetic field effects on a mouse as it goes into adulthood. So they took pregnant mice and put a cell phone over top of their cage while they were pregnant. One cell phone had an ongoing phone call happening the entire duration of the pregnancy. Another one had a phone up there without the phone call happening. Well, the study found that mice who are in the womb while there is an active phone call above their cage had adverse health effects all the way into adulthood, primarily psychological effects. It was impacting their brains. This study is linked down in my description, and it zones in on the fact that there really is something to these unseen frequencies connected to our devices that we have everywhere now. The growth of technology. Now we just rolled out 5G in the past year. So we are going to dive into this little known topic. People don't talk about it a lot, but there seem to be more and more people suffering from electromagnetic field sensitivity. We're going to have a guest on who is one of those victims of the growth of just the electromagnetic field. And we'll ask her how to tell if the health issues that you have, are they connected to this as well? Some people don't understand, why am I having these symptoms? Why do I feel horrible every day? Could it be the electronics that are surrounding you, higher and higher and higher powered electronics? So we're going to dive into it. Can't wait for you to hear from my guest. Before we get into it, shout out to the sponsor of my coverage. I'm a huge fan of the Fighter Flare flashlight. The Fighter Flare flashlight is a tactical all-purpose flashlight that military and law enforcement love. The Fighter Flare flashlight comes pre-built with an ultra-bright strobe light and other emergency modes that can blind any attacker. Each Fighter Flare flashlight also comes with a built-in power bank, compass. Okay, you can see there. So it's actually powered. It can actually solar charge here, but it's also a light. You can see all the settings. Love this thing. It's also got a compass on the bottom, built-in power bank, wire cutter, glass breaker, a siren, and multiple lighting modes. It is weather resistant. If someone targets you, don't get caught unprepared. Investing in this Fighter Flare flashlight could save your life down the road. Get the Fighter Flare flashlight today by going to www.fighterflareflashlight.com, link down in my description. Use promo code July for 15% off, plus express shipping and a lifetime replacement guarantee. Check it out down below. Love this thing a lot. With that being said, let's dive into the topic of electromagnetic sensitivity. And I'm going to bring on Olivia Marie. Olivia, how are you?
Hey there. Thanks so much for having me, Ivory.
Thanks for joining me. So you said you're currently in Michigan, but you have traveled all over.
I have.
Hiding from EMF frequency.
I have. I've been to Florida, Missouri, Oklahoma. Anyone who will just really take me in, really, who doesn't have Wi-Fi, who's rural based, where I can heal. And yeah, it's definitely been a journey for sure.
So when you are surrounded by Wi-Fi, I know you mentioned to me that like in an apartment complex, it's the health effects of EMF are noticeably worse for you because every little apartment has a Wi-Fi box in it. So
yeah.
When you're around intense EMF frequency, higher levels of it, what happens to you?
I can get anything from heart palpitations to insomnia, anxiety, rashes, headaches, chronic pain. When it gets into more so like days or weeks or even months of being exposed, I could have nosebleeds. My gums can bleed. Yeah.
So you're obviously around technology right now because you're online with me.
Yes,
So
yes.
how's that impacting you?
Yeah, it's a little bit, brain fog is another, I mean, you never used to hear the term brain fog at all. And now it's like everywhere. Everyone has brain fog all the time. That's another big one. So yeah, it can be a little confusing. Actually, Wi-Fi was created in the 40s, and it was used in World War II to make the enemy sick and confused. So I think that's something to consider. And now it's all around us.
Wow. I was reading on healthline.com that they had this article said, is it possible to be allergic to electricity? And they're saying that this concept of EMF or EHS sensitivity
Right.
came onto the scene. It was first heard of in the mid 1900s.
Yes.
They said the former Soviet Union said that radar technicians and military technicians
Mhm.
working with radio experienced EHS, and
Yes.
then known as microwave syndrome.
Yes.
What's EHS stand? Oh, electromagnetic hypersensitivity.
Yes. There's several acronyms and names for it. I think because there's three main things that can bother people, which is the magnetic field, electricity, and then now more of the EMF and the wireless technology. So.
And the Healthline article is pretty, they're pretty much like, this might not really be a thing. A lot of people are
Right.
saying that they suffer
Right.
from this, but a bunch of studies say that, those people are apparently wrong. It's all in their imagination.
Right. Right. Well, I think it's important to note that cell phones alone, within 5 years, will be $1 trillion industry. So, I mean, the Aaron Brockovich scandal, right? I mean, everyone's seen that movie, most people. The PG&E scandal, that utility company, I think, was worth less than $100 billion. So that's a tenth of what the cell phone industry is worth. And it's not just cell phones. It's the utility industry with smart meters that pings a radiation signal every 8 seconds. There's, of course, Bluetooth, smart TVs with electronics, dashboards in newer vehicles. I could go on and on how much we're exposed to. It's an exponential increase in the last decade or so.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so I was this woman from Florida, Britt Galvin, she's been published a lot now for having extreme adverse side effects from getting the needle in the arm. We're on YouTube, so I'm going to talk in code word. She got the Derna needle,
Yeah.
and proceeded
Terrible.
to have her body became magnetic, and so I was just texting her today, like, hey, do you or anyone did you guys become EMF sensitive after you got the needle in the arm in 2021? And she said, yeah, absolutely. She's like, you didn't see my video. She was like posting videos with an EMF reader, but she's texting me today saying, she says, we even drive by a 5G tower now, and I get a shooting pain in my chest and head.
Mm-hmm.
I looked up my address, and there's over 600 towers within 3-mile radius of my home.
Yes.
She says that before getting the needle in the arm, she was not EMF sensitive at all.
Yeah.
Now, you also put me in touch with this man, Ken, which he wasn't ready to go on camera, but his wife suffers from this. And he said that she became EMF sensitive after exposure to mold.
Yes, mold is a huge common denominator. I've networked with probably dozens, if not hundreds of people over 3 years who are EMF sensitive. There's a support group on Facebook. It's really one of the only reasons I still have Facebook, is my support groups. And I network with so many people, and there's a lot of common denominators. Mold is one of them. Lyme is another. Heavy metals.
Wait, like Lyme disease, or what do you
Lyme
mean?
disease. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of people have genes where they can't detoxify chemicals and just other toxic things that we're exposed to on a daily basis. I have the anti-FR gene, so I would love to have more genetic testing. Of course, that's very pricey, but so I have that gene. And then this is a little bit controversial, but a lot of us identify as empaths. So there's a lot of common denominators for sure. Mold is a huge one.
Wow. So I want to bring this up on the screen. This is the support group you mentioned, I think. Is this the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Because you had sent me some screenshots from it. So I looked it up.
Yes.
So it's over 6,000 members in this Facebook group, Electrical Sensitivity Support Group. I've linked it down in my description.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just like, how, if this is made up, if this is all in people's heads, why are there 6,000 people? Not only that, but, I've got to mention the Children's Health Defense lawsuit that it was an historic win last August, yet there was crickets from the media.
Yes,
Children's
100%.
Health Defense, led by Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yes.
He took the FCC to court.
Yep.
Federal Communications Commission, in charge of regulating our electronic devices.
Yep.
And he won. They literally won in federal court against the
government never loses. So that's huge. That's huge. I mean, they really lose. Yes.
So what this lawsuit revealed is that this stuff is not made up. And I just want to read a little bit from children'shealthdefense.org. Government failed to consider evidence. Okay, yeah. So this is the follow-up headline. Let me read the first headline. Historic win. CHS wins case against FCC on safety guidelines for 5G and wireless. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit Court ruled that the Federal Communications Commission failed to provide a reasonable explanation for its determination that its current guidelines adequately protect against harmful effects of exposure in radio frequency radiation. They set these guidelines in 1996. Do you know how much cell phones have advanced and all technology has advanced since then?
Absolutely. It's insane. I mean, and there were over 11,000 pages of evidence in that lawsuit of negative adverse health reactions from cell phones and 5G and even before 5G.
So I was reading some of it. I might have to put this in my link in description too, but it says petitioners point to the multiple studies and reports which were published in 96 and are in the administrative record purporting to show that RF radiation at levels below the commission's current limits cause negative health effects unrelated to cancer. So the FCC, the corrupt federal agency, there's so many of these corrupt agencies. Anyway, they give this safe level of RF radiation set in 96 seconds. But all kinds of studies show that you get radiation even lower than that, and you're still getting all kinds of health effects. One of the studies they mentioned is a 2012 study describing evidence of human sperm and their DNA are damaged by low levels of RF radiation.
Yes.
They list a slew of other ones, effects on human brain 7 days after exposure, all kinds, like you said.
Yes. Even after 2 minutes, they take little thermal devices and your face and your head just lights up even after just 2 minutes of using one. It's crazy.
I have the latest iPhone, which I might have to get rid of, but when I got it, and I told this story, when I got it in the mail from China, which, supply chain, it took forever to come in. I opened the box and, because Apple no longer sells these in store in Biden's economy. So I had to wait for it to ship from China directly. And I opened the box, this pamphlet falls out with a legal warning that says, we really recommend you don't put your phone up to your ear while talking because of the high levels of radiation. Apple's saying that directly.
That's crazy. That's crazy. It's
Yeah.
nuts. It's insane. I really want to give a shout out to Daphne over, you mentioned Children's Health Defense. She's an attorney who I believe works for Kennedy, and she has her own organization called We Are the Evidence. She, I believe, has dual citizenship in Israel and the US. And she led the effort in Israel to get Wi-Fi out of schools 10 years ago. I mean, we're so behind. There's Wi-Fi now not allowed in public schools in Israel. France, Belgium, Spain, Australia, and Italy all followed because kids are 10 times absorb 10 times more radiation than adults. I mean, they're so susceptible and they're still developing. So
Okay,
that's a
so
huge, I'm worried for our kids.
I was just in the airport this week, and waiting for my flight. Every child sitting around me, like they were ranging in age from like 3 to 10. Every kid,
Yes.
and there were a lot of kids had their iPad. They were glued to an
Yes.
iPad, and
Crazy.
yeah,
It's crazy.
and then the adults are glued to these. So
They are. I think I like to say the quote, "We're being distracted while we're being fried alive." I mean, it's true. It's like a double sword. It's a double whammy. We're being fried, but we're being distracted at the same time. So
yeah,
it's
so
scary.
So when 5G rolled out several months ago,
Yes.
what was since you're EMF sensitive, what did you feel?
Well, I've already been EMF sick for a few years now. I would say since about April of 2019 is when it first subtly started, I noticed. But definitely noticed worse symptoms for sure. And I even received phone calls and emails from people all over. I know a woman in Oklahoma who lives in the middle of nowhere. I know a woman who was so EMF sensitive, she decided to go homestead off grid by herself in the like northeast area. I mean, she homesteads by herself. She slaughters all of her own animals. She grows all of her own food because she is that sensitive. And I even hear from those people that they're starting to really feel it. I think a lot of it is the uptick in 5G. And I also think what's really negative is this new Starlink internet with these satellites being, I mean, we don't know anything about that. And they're just being thrown up in there.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. For those who don't know, that's Elon Musk's new internet technology where you can be in the middle of the internet, of the wilderness, and have ultra high speed internet. A friend of mine has a vacation cabin just hours into the woods. And she was saying how thrilled she was that her internet is just amazing so far in the wilderness. But it did draw the question, what sort of microwave frequency are we now getting with that advanced technology?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to note the cancer rates too in developed countries are so much higher than undeveloped countries. And we have to wonder, like, does EMF and radiation play a role in that? I mean, it almost has to. Because they're still exposed to chemicals and bad things.
I think it was, what was it, February that 5G was fully rolled out. I know that the airports threw a fit when the government, or I guess it was the cell phone companies, wanted to fully roll out their 5G. The airports were like, oh my gosh, please stop because our planes are not going to work. That the 5G frequency was so powerful. I guess I don't fully understand the technology, but the 5G frequency was interfering with the airplane frequencies, and they were afraid of crashing some planes, I guess. So they duked it out in court a little bit and finally figured out a way to fully roll it out. But I remember the day that they said it had fully rolled out. Here in Houston, I'm in a major city where 5G towers are everywhere, and I was recording, I have my little studio here,
Absolutely.
and I was recording with my camera and my wireless mic. My wireless mic completely stopped working that day. I had to buy a new,
Wow.
more powerful one.
Yeah.
It was a little weaker frequency, and then I also developed a headache that day. But then I overcame it. I feel somewhat fine here, but when I moved into this place, there's something. I just feel drained a lot, and I was wondering
Mhm.
if it is, the
It very
electromagnetic.
well could be. It very well could be. I mean, there's a reason why people go camping and they feel better and they get the best sleep of their lives.
Hmm.
Um, Absolutely. In caves, people feel amazing because in caves, there's no satellite, radio waves. There's nothing. They're completely dark.
So
Um,
you've been networking with a lot of these people who have this same health issue as you. You mentioned to me you met a lady who literally had to hide out in a cave. Tell me her
for
story.
3 years. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. She lived, I believe it was in New Mexico. I don't know how she survived. I don't know how she hunted for her food, but she did it. And avoidance seems to be key for people like us. There's some things that help. Iodine is huge. I mean, most of first world countries even are iodine deficient, so it's good to take your iodine. Doctors, when you're going through radiation treatment as a cancer patient, they'll tell you not to take iodine, so that's how powerful iodine can be against radiation. Um, there's
Wow.
silver clothing, there's Faraday cages, linen is really great. But avoidance seems to make everyone healthier 100%.
You mean like
Um,
physically removing yourself
yeah,
geographically?
yes, which is so hard. I mean, so I owned my own house and I sold it before I got EMF sensitive. So, I mean, just think about like, I can't just go rent a room somewhere. I can't go into an apartment. I can't buy a condo. Um, I really need a standalone building. So, I mean, topple that on extremely high house prices right now. It's definitely a huge challenge. There's a lot of people in the group who have supportive family, but there's a lot of people who don't, especially just in the divided world we live in today. So that's a huge challenge. I think for being EMF sensitive and being a female, it's really challenging because I've had to choose between being physically safe as a female in a living situation, but then there's still the Wi-Fi versus being EMF safe and then maybe not being so safe as a female. So there's a
Wow.
lot of complications and obstacles with EMF sensitivity. It's very hard sometimes.
Wow. When did you first become EMF sensitive and how?
So I first noticed it 3 years ago in 2019. I had breast implants and I had them removed by a breast implant illness surgeon. Um, so that was huge. And then I had some complications from that. I also had a fall. I had a bunch of stuff happen at once. And that's when I first noticed it. And I thought, this is insane, Olivia. Like every time I touched my cell phone, I experienced pain. And I thought, this is ridiculous. Like, you're crazy. There's no way. So I confided in my now ex-husband who is in the medical field, and he's like, no, you're crazy. This is not a thing. And I started to do research and more research and more research. And I've talked to medical doctors, I've talked to chiropractors, I've talked to really, really successful businessmen and women. I've talked to people from so many different walks of life. Um, and so I'm really thankful. I mean, without my support group, I definitely would probably have gone insane. I have networked with several scientists, and from what they tell me in layman's terms, when you touch a cell phone, you actually become the conductor. And we all have nervous systems. We're electrical beings. So we have, our nervous system, our spine, and our head. So that's where I feel it the most, for sure. And I started to get more and more sick. And I got really, really sick. I mean, I was bedridden for a while before I realized this is really EMF. This is killing me.
Wow. So you're touching your cell phone was the first key. So I'm assuming,
Yes.
I mean, first of all, is it just smartphones or is it flip phones too?
Oh, it's a great question. I haven't had a flip phone in so long. Although, I had this off-brand BlackBerry for the longest time before everyone. I think up until maybe, oh, I don't know, 2016, 2017. So I really didn't get a smartphone until then. Um, it does. I believe it's lower radiation. There was a company, and I don't know if they were just hit with a bunch of legal BS. They were supposed to come out with a low EMF cell phone. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It was spelled MUDITA. I've been following them. I've been really looking forward to that. So I really want to get one for sure.
So what do you use now? Do you have a smartphone?
So I have a smartphone. I rarely use it. I encourage people to use a hardwired internet when possible. You can actually hardwire your cell phone, and you can hardwire your smart TV, and you can hardwire your computer. You just have to call your internet company, and they provide you with a modem where they can turn the Wi-Fi off, and then you just run an Ethernet cord to your cell phone.
Oh wow! I'm
It's
gonna have
really
to try that.
easy. Yeah.
So this is the phone you mentioned. Mudita Pure
Yes.
is the latest stab at minimalist phone. This phone thinks true digital detox is only possible with limited hardware, not limiting software. It's kind of cool looking too.
It is. And I haven't researched that company in a couple of months, so they could have come out with it. But yes, I think to get ahead of the game, I really think that people need to also, earthing and grounding as much as possible. I know it's really hard to do if you're in the northern states in the winter, but unplugging as much as you can, not using Bluetooth, not using basically in layman's terms, hardwired or wires are safe, and anything wireless is radiation because it's not going through the wire, it's going through the air. It's going through us, our bodies.
So you can have something that's Bluetooth accessible, but you only get radiated when you turn the Bluetooth on.
Yeah, I believe so. Newer cars are a big problem for people like us too. A lot of us have older cars, which have lower ratings. You can turn the Bluetooth off, but a lot of radiation comes from the newer cars in the dashboard, and it's kind of harder to mitigate that. There are specialists. They're called building biologists. They are EMF experts, and they have professional meters. You can buy a meter online for like $150. The price might have gone up since I bought one, but they have really expensive professional meters. I believe their schooling curriculum is out of Germany, if I'm not mistaken.
Building biologist, I Googled it.
Yes.
Building biology. That is so cool. So you can get tested on, get your home tested?
Yes, you can. Yep, you can get your house tested. They can read your car. Yeah, and there's maybe a few dozen in the country at this point. And I've met with several of them. They're great people. The irony of becoming a building biologist is a lot of them are EMF sensitive. Most of them are, because that's how you get into the field of wanting to help people. So they have to kind of be careful in how many consultations they do, like a month or a week, so they don't get sick themselves. But yeah, absolutely. Definitely a great resource to check out.
So we have this viewer comment that Marita says, I feel drained constantly. I get up at 6 a.m., lay down for a couple hours. By 2, I'm falling asleep again. Sleep 3 to 4 hours. Crazy. This just recently happening. Same for me.
Yes.
Working in this complex,
Yes.
and living in this complex. I live and work
Yes.
here. And I'm like, why do I just feel zapped all the time? And I was wondering if it was the building.
100%. I mean, I've seen, which I think is really sad, it's mostly on low income apartments, 5G towers on the apartment buildings themselves. I mean, they're on water towers, electrical lines, apartment buildings, office buildings. I know a gentleman who, very successful businessman who was working in Chicago, and his entire floor got sick all at once. And
Wow.
he actually quit his job. This was a couple years ago, and he quit his job. He rents out his condo and he lives out of his car in Florida. And that sounds crazy to most people, but that's where he feels the best. I mean, the pain is terrible, and the insomnia is terrible. It's life altering. So, yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. I never thought that I would be labeled a refugee in my lifetime, but people are gonna start knowing more and more EMF refugees. I mean, the problem is not going away.
Yeah, I was looking at, like the AT&T and Verizon maps, their 5G coverage. Like, there's not a lot of parts of America that aren't well covered by this,
Right.
New 5G. I think, I guess I was reading news reports that by 2030 they'll have 6G.
Oh, yes.
And I think it was Idaho that had the least 5G coverage.
Yes. States with mountains, or I should say places and regions with mountains, are definitely block signals. They're definitely probably one of the safest areas. Countries that don't have 5G, which is really rare. Also, a lot of EMF refugees seem to feel better closer to the equator, and some scientists think it's because of the magnetic fields and how they differ there as opposed to in northern areas. Also, you can ground every day on a beach if you're in a southern state. So that's important.
Yeah. For people who don't know, grounding means you get barefoot and go out and touch the ground.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm a runner. I go running I travel a lot, and I run
Right.
and jog everywhere. Every day I get my exercise. And so whenever I'm traveling to a beachside community, I go running on the beach. And every time I run barefoot on the beach, I cannot stop running. I get so much energy.
Yeah.
I just keep on running. I'm
Yeah.
going out, like the beach is physically charging me. I can't stop running, and I don't want to stop running. It's really weird.
Yes, yes. I know a doctor in Colorado. She runs Mimi's clinic. She has just been my mentor, and she's great. She was a massage therapist and then a nurse and now a medical doctor. And she runs a holistic practice, even though she is certified as an MD or a DO, but I believe MD. And I mean, she has patients that are so sensitive that she'll draw their blood in their car because they can't even go in her building.
Wow.
But she says the best thing for everyone to do is sleep on the earth as much as you possibly can. She does it like every weekend.
Wow, like not in a bed, like go out on the ground and fall
Yeah,
asleep?
like just go camping, take your tent and your sleeping bag and sleep on the ground.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
fascinating. Okay, so in my comment section, they're talking about rocks or stones, it looks like. I
Okay.
think that's what this is, black
Yes.
orgonite.
Yeah, Shanghai.
What
Yeah.
they're talking about, does this help?
Yeah. Definitely seems to help some people. You got to be careful about gimmicks out there and people who just sell on certain websites. You really have to read their reviews. There's definitely a lot of, false advertising out there. I have talked to people that it's definitely helped, although I do still believe, after speaking with so many people that have this, that avoidance is just the thing that helps everyone the most.
Just get out in the country. Just get out
Yeah.
in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we go, because we're running out of time, you mentioned at the beginning
Yes.
that empaths are more likely to be EMF sensitive.
Yeah. I took a poll a couple times in our group, like how many people consider themselves empaths, and almost everyone said absolutely yes. So I consider myself more, I can tell if someone is angry or sad. I can't tell their exact feelings, but yeah, definitely consider myself an empath for sure.
So like
I
you feel their feelings yourself.
Yeah, not their specific feelings like that. I don't feel their exact thoughts, but I feel if they're sad or happy. I was working, I've been in the restaurant industry my entire life, but when they shut the restaurants down here in Michigan for an extremely long period of time compared to other states, I took a job at a gas station. I didn't have to wear a mask, and I said, heck yeah, I'll sign me up. I need something to do. And so it was a very small gas station, and one day I had this lady walk in, and everything was going great. She was the only one in there, and immediately she walked in, and I just felt this heaviness. And I went over to her and I said, "Are you okay?" And she just came into me and she just started sobbing for like 10 minutes. And I knew right away something was wrong. So I guess that's how you describe an empath, at least from my angle.
Wow, it's like the frequency that her aura was putting out. I have so many
Yeah.
questions about the unseen world and how that works, but it's like
I'm
every
still
human
diving into it myself.
it's like every human has their own electrical field, just like a cell phone does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Some people say they can even like see colors around people. I can't see that. Some people claim that. So I'm open-minded to anything, obviously. If you have an EMF sensitivity, you're pretty open-minded to a lot of different things.
Wow. That's so fascinating. Well, I've loved talking to you. Is any last words you can give to people, who may think that they may be suffering from this? Like this one lady who said that she's like
Yes.
drained every day. I feel like that's a lot of people. And
A lot of people.
is
So
it
many
these
people.
unseen technology frequencies?
Yeah, I mean, we've only been living with these. I mean, they're artificial energies. They're not natural, and we haven't been living with them for that long. I mean, when the Spanish flu broke out, that's when they kind of started to do electricity. So I think that's important to note too. But last words, I could talk about this for hours. Make sure you take your iodine. Definitely look into silver clothing. If you think
Where
that you are,
like the metal, like silver is woven
yes,
into clothes. Wow.
yes, yes, yeah.
Cool.
Hertz cloth is great. Linen is great. Um, if you are not willing to hardwire, the least you can do is turn off your Wi-Fi router at night. All you have to do is unplug it. It should take less than 2 minutes to start back up. That's a huge thing, because if you're around EMF and you're around Wi-Fi at night, you're not getting proper sleep at all. So
Wow.
that's just number one, even just getting proper sleep for sure. I think also, if you really think you're really sick from this, inform your family and friends, inform your communities. Like I said, I'm really scared for our next generations here. I mean, Wi-Fi has been outlawed in so many different public schools, not the US. I think that needs to be addressed for sure. Yeah, and
And
definitely
what
thank you
about,
for having me.
well, thanks for coming on, being open about it. So what about meditation? People who
Oh,
meditate,
meditation is great. Yes, yes.
does
Deep
that relieve
breathing.
the symptoms?
It definitely helps. It definitely helps because my muscles tense up, and that's, because when you have chronic pain, your muscles tense up. And definitely meditating is great for anxiety. Absolutely. I think herbs that provide calmness as well. Like I'm a huge fan of like valerian root, um, kava kava. Yeah, medical marijuana.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
interesting. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Olivia. And I linked the support group down below. I also linked that study featured by Yale on the mice.
Yes,
That study was in 2012, you guys. The cell phones put next to a pregnant mouse that permanently impacted the baby mouse for the rest of its life when it was an adult
yes,
mouse. Its brain
that's
still didn't
scary.
work, you know, up to par. So those are 2012 cell phones. Now we've got the newest, iPhone 13, and we've got 5G. So it'll be interesting to see. And that's the thing; it's like hard to tell, right?
It
It's
is.
not
I may be in a third world country just off the map by that point. I'm not doing 6G. I'm not signing up for that.
like it's something that's impacting everyone, and it's a gradual thing, and it's hard to put
It
your
is.
thumb on why more and more people can't think clearly or focus or are having all these health
Mhm.
issues or are bedridden with fatigue. So,
Yes. I mean, how many people do you know that have health issues and their doctors can't pinpoint it? Um, Absolutely.
well, thanks so much, Olivia. Keep in
Thank you,
touch.
Ivory.
Maybe we can do another segment in the future.
I would love to. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, talk to you later.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.